41. Gryph woke with a start. He didn't know how long he'd been out. It could have been seconds or days. His head pounded, and he fought to stay awake as the steady, even steps of the brute that carried him nearly lulled him back to sleep. From what he could see, they were walking down a wide corridor, lined with green flames that burned directly from the sconces set into the wall. He didn't see any torches, nor smell burning. This was magic. He felt the brute carrying him tense up, and then heard Dirge's voice. "Easy." Gryph could tell by the strain lingering under the surface of Dirge's voice that he was far from calm. Then he saw why. Spaced midway between 2 points of green light was a vertical alcove set back into the wall. Standing inside was an armored corpse, the skin of its face pulled tight across its teeth, giving it a feral grin. It held a massive two-handed sword, point face down. The creature's black eyes snapped open and watched as the party moved past, but otherwise it did not move a muscle. Though Gryph couldn't move, his analyze skill still worked just fine. He almost wished it hadn't. Dread Knight, level 22, H 350, S 420, M 0, SP 250. Dread Knights are powerful undead revenants. In life, they were knights who served evil masters and were rewarded with an eternal half-life of the undead. They are powerful warrior priests who derive their spirit power from the masters who they worship as a god. Strengths unknown, immunities unknown, weakness unknown. The undead creature was high level and formidable, and as they drifted down the hallway, Gryph saw that it wasn't alone. He saw 4 more on his side and assumed that the same number lay ensconced on the other side of the corridor. This is a bad plan, Gryph thought. They walked a few more feet before stopping. Gryph could not see why they had stopped, but the chill of evil crept into his bones. Dirge cleared his throat, attempting to force courage into it. "Let us pass. We are here at your master's invite." The chill expanded and bit into Gryph's cramped muscles, and he was certain that his life would end, again. Then he heard Dirge exhale. A scrape of metal on stone followed as the sound of massive doors creaking on ancient hinges came to Gryph. The party moved in, and Gryph saw the doors they passed through. They were 20 feet tall and emblazoned with scenes of death and battle. As they crossed the threshold, the creaking began again, and the doors sealed with a thud. The brute carrying him shook in fear, but he walked forward on Dirge's command. A few moments later, they stopped again and tossed Gryph to the ground. An oily hiss crept over the party, and Gryph heard Dirge say, "Easy." The brute mumbled an apology and propped Gryph up on his knees and pulled off the sack. Gryph blinked a few times to clear the fog from his mind. As his eyes focused, a horror came into his field of vision. Sitting on a throne made of bone was a specter of rancid fog and malevolent darkness. Glowing embers of green fire peered at him from behind a cowl of animated smoke. A gnarled hand that was neither bone nor flesh emerged from the ever-flowing robe that the creature didn't so much wear as exude. Without meaning to, Gryph's analyze skill jumped to the fore. Barrow King, level 67, H 1245, S 1578, M 1574. SP 0. The Barrow King is the disembodied soul of an ancient wizard. It is a legendary opponent whose skill with magic is near unparalleled. Strengths unknown. Immunities unknown. Weakness unknown. Fear dug deep into the core of Gryph's being. He felt tendons seize and his blood turn cold. Bones felt as if they were splintering under the gaze, and his muscles seized tight. His eyes could not focus on the foul creature, as if it was phasing in and out of existence. With an incredible effort, Gryph forced himself to break eye contact. Instantly, the phantom pain brought on by the creature's gaze abated. The Barrow King leaned forward, and a guttural grumbling flowed across the room.
"Who are you?"
said a voice of cracking stone and burning oil.
"Before we get to that," Dirge said, "I believe you owe us payment."
The specter's eyes snapped to Dirge. To his credit, the rogue barely shivered, 1 foot easing back a bare millimeter. The Barrow King's gaze bored into Dirge's soul, but the man stood his ground.
"It's too bad he's proven to be an enemy,"
Gryph thought, impressed with the traitorous man's courage. The Barrow King made the slightest motion, and 2 of the dread knights moved towards Gryph and Dirge. The 2 brutes tensed in uncertainty and fear, clutching weapons in suddenly slick hands. Dirge never took his eyes off the Barrow King as he pulled the dagger from its sheath and spun it lightning quick. Gryph felt the tip bite into his neck. The point pulsed with each beat of his heart.
"There's no need for that,"
Dirge said with an eerie calm.
"We can both get what we want and part as friends."
The Barrow King snapped its head in an almost insectile manner, a sure sign of anger.
"Or as temporary chums who never have to see each other again."
Another deep rumble emanated from the very stone of the throne room. Gryph looked around, as much as he was able without skewering himself. The room was massive. Along the sides were balconies that Gryph imagined, at one time when the Barrow King had still been living, had held supplicants and underlings. Now, Gryph just hoped that the ancient stone held and did not come crashing down on him. Gryph felt the tip of the knife push harder against his jugular, and his gaze snapped back to the Barrow King. The rail-thin creature's shoulders moved up and down, as if the Barrow King were breathing to calm himself. But Gryph knew this creature had not taken a breath in millennia. What kind of terrible willpower kept this creature alive? After a few tense moments, the Barrow King waved his hand in an idle backwards motion at an intricately carved stone archway to his right. A point of light came into being in the center of the arch, a singularity of all and nothing. It pulsed and then expanded, filling the archway. Gryph's heart both leapt and sank at the vision through the portal. It was a verdant valley. Sun streamed down through the branches of dappled trees, and he could hear the sing-song of birds. Gryph had not realized just how detached from nature and life he had felt since arriving in the realms. If the place beyond the singularity was real, then perhaps the realms held some good after all. Dirge yanked Gryph's head back, adjusting his blade again.
"Now, call off your goons, and you'll have what you want."
The Barrow King stood, a flowing motion more serpentine than mammalian. As he flowed upwards, Gryph realized just how tall the creature was. It topped 7 feet, and it flexed its shoulders backwards, expanding before their eyes. It took a step forward on heavy booted feet, which had, until a moment ago, not existed. Dirge warned, and Gryph felt the knife pierce his skin. Blood flowed in a rivulet down Gryph's neck. The Barrow King paused and sniffed. A keening noise, akin to the desperate, hungry cry of a bird, arose from inside the Barrow King's ever-flowing shawl. Gryph sensed a craving like a junkie smelling his next fix cooking. Tense moments passed, and after a glacial age, the Barrow King waved his hand again. The dread knights backed away, clearing a path for Dirge and his buddies to move towards the portal. Dirge dragged Gryph to his feet and slowly moved towards the shimmering gateway. With each small step, he repositioned himself, always keeping Gryph between him and the Barrow King. The two brutes took up flanking positions, weapons at the ready, eyes on the dread knights. Gryph flexed his fingers, working feeling back into them. Now or never, he thought. Now, came a mental reply. Chaos erupted.